On declaring victory this hour, the foreign minister going on TV tonight to make this declaration.
We are the victor of this battlefield. The Islamic Republic of Iran has emerged as a victor. The Iranian people achieved victory. This is not a slogan. This is no exaggeration.
And the reason why he's saying this, because what the Iranian people are trying to say to us is that Trump or the Trump administration agreed for the U.S. to remove their blockade, the Strait open with tolls, so they will be charging tolls. Basically, we recognize that they will be administrating the Strait from now on, and pre-war shipping within 30 days. So give them about 30 days to get everything back to normal. And then, of course, the Strait will be open with tolls and the U.S. will move their blockade. I mean, yeah, do you see kind of why they're claiming victory right now? If this is true, if this is what we are accepting.
That's just sort of propaganda you might expect from the Iranians, but it actually happens to be something a shipping executive I spoke with tonight backs up. Ship stuck in the Strait for now a long time. He told me, quote, unfortunately, the White House, the U.S. are losers. This is both Iran and the United States say that they're close to a deal, an agreement to discuss a deal, except for they are clearly not talking about the same deal. And I'm just going to go through a couple things really quickly to make the point. First, the Strait of Hormuz, right? It's closed. A U.S. official said that, you know, in this initial agreement, the Strait would open. And that sounds good, right? Finally, thank God. Well, Aragchi says it will not reopen unless it is.
Unless we get those unless they get the sanction relief. And that's one thing we don't want to give Iran because, well, we would like to sit here and believe that they'll put it towards your infrastructure and rebuilding their economy. And, you know, that's a nice thought. But more than likely, they're going to put it towards their proxies and further advancing their missile capability. And we don't want that. But that's looking like the reality right now. Oh, guys, make sure to smash that like button if you're watching, guys. Let's get more people on the conversation by smashing that like button. Or if you're watching on the vertical, double tapping that screen. All right, let's get back to it.
Under Iranian management, and unless there are fees to transit the Strait, otherwise known as toll or whatever you'd like to call it. But they are both things that Trump has said in the past are absolutely no-goes. Okay, so that's the Strait. And now what about the thing at the core of all of this, the whole reason that the U.S. went to war in the first place, apparently, which was Iran's nuclear material? The Trump administration officials said Iran's nuclear program will be dismantled and that nuclear material will be destroyed and removed. Aragchi says, well, we'll just keep talking. They will only engage in nuclear talks during a 60-day negotiation period following the signing of this thing, which is a memorandum of understanding.
Just to give you a little bit of further detail. So, yeah, they won't talk about no nuclear talks, no taking away of enrichment or watering down of their enriched uranium until 60 days of ceasefire. Basically, they're telling us, look, if we can trust you for 60 days, if you could just hold off on us for 60 days, then we'll talk about enriched uranium. If you guys break that within the 60 days, then, I mean, who knows what Iran might do with that uranium after that. But the ceasefires will be mediated by Qatar and Pakistan. J.D. Vance signing ceremony in Geneva, and is called Islamabad. It's going to be called the Islamabad Agreement. So, all right, they already got a nickname for it. All right, let's get back to it, guys. Like I said, don't forget to like the video.
Understanding, which means they're basically agreeing to nothing on the nuclear deal, so they say. A senior U.S. official tells CNN that none of Iran's money is to be released until they perform. This is another crucial thing, right? All that frozen money that you heard about. Remember the pallets of cash that Trump criticized Obama for supposedly releasing to Iran. Iran now says, well, actually, there's money here. $24 billion is going to be released to Iran, half immediately on signing the quote-unquote memorandum.
Aaron, I've been talking to White House officials, senior Trump administration officials all day about this. And what they've consistently tried to say is that the Iranians are messaging internally for their own audiences. This is something you heard a senior administration official tell me and other reporters earlier today as well. They are arguing that what the U.S. is saying is what needs to be believed here, and that Iran, if they are communicating any sort of differences in that, it's because they need to message internally. Now, of course, and I think you make a great point, we've heard 39 times President Donald Trump argue that they are close to a deal just for it to fall apart. But I will say this time does feel different. One, in the conversations that I am having with all of—
I mean, it does feel a bit closer because there are now concessions. Like, there's not, like, we're not getting our maximus demands. We're getting concessions, which look like it's more likely that Iran Iran's going to agree to this, which is why you got the foreign minister going out like, oh no, we got victory, we got what we want, we finally got the Americans to water down their demands, which we pretty much did.
My sources on this, including in the Intelligence Committee, but also with, what we are hearing from foreign leaders. You have the Iranian foreign minister saying that they feel like they are closer to a deal than ever before. And I think what we heard from the Pakistani prime minister was really notable as well, when he said that he could confirm that a final agreed upon text for the peace deal had been finalized, and they are just working now on the aspect of signing it.
Yeah, right now we're working on the leaked peace deal that was leaked by Iran and that got picked up by Axios. So yes, Axios is the one who actually leaked the deal. Well, Iran leaked the deal. Axios pretty much reported it.
We've been talking to people involved in the negotiations on multiple sides, right? So you've got a lot of incoming here. What are you learning?
So over the last week, the message has sort of coalesced and it's gotten consistent from everybody. So in speaking to regional mediators, the Iranian back channel, and speaking to Pakistanis and also speaking to U.S. officials, it seemed that there was large agreement on most of the aspects of the deal. It was really the sequencing that was the problem, as Elena just laid out. Yeah. It was the money piece that the Iranians were demanding up front without any concessions, which the administration was balking at, because otherwise it would have been simply returning the straits to pre-war conditions for money, which essentially would have been looked at as a bribe, which doesn't work. So the administration wanted more from them up front before they would release funds. And a senior U.S. officials at the Pentagon stressed to me, he said, look, this is absolutely performance-based. This is going to be much bigger and wider in terms of scope than the JCPOA was. And the Iranians are simply not going to get cash for just returning the straits to pre-war conditions. And the White House has made a deliberate decision over the past week not to engage in public discussions about what's in the MOU, given that a large part of this has been face-saving just culturally.
Right. What I'm curious though, Colonel,
Yeah, but here's the thing though, like, why hide it if the Iranians are lying? Just go ahead and prove the Iranians are wrong and show us. Or is the Iranians telling the truth and you didn't actually want them to say all that, and now we're over here just kind of looking dumb? Like, what's going on here? Like I said, it's so easy to, like somebody said in the chat, yo, it's so easy to prove them wrong. Just release it. Why is Trump holding on to it? Just prove the Iranians wrong right now. Like we're looking at Trump like, Trump, say it ain't so. Say the capitulation ain't this bad. And he's not willing to prove it, just like he's not willing to prove that the 2020 election was stolen. Things that he could prove, but he refused to do.
When Aragchi calls this a victory for Iran, I mean, if you take a step back, the United States comes at you with, fear and fury, and they do a lot of damage. Okay, a lot of damage. And yet here you are at 3.5 months.
Guys, you got any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements? I'll be happy to read it out loud and engage with it. Just $2 and up in the super chat, or you can send a Venmo. Appreciate the support, guys. All right, let's keep it going.
Months later, you still control the Strait of Hormuz. 70% of your missiles are still there. You still have your highly enriched uranium, although some of it's probably very difficult to get to because of bombing. So, you look at this and can say, well, all of this for what? I mean, when you talk about the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, there's one thing, you can kind of be vague about a lot of stuff, right? You can be vague about highly enriched uranium. You can be vague. One guy can say one thing, one can say the other. Who's really going to know? But everybody's going to know about the Strait.
Absolutely, Aaron. And one of the key things here is that this has to be seen, from Arakshi's standpoint, it is a victory from a strategic perspective.
Right.
Because we're not going back, as Alex was mentioning, we're not going back to the status quo ante. We're not going back to the period before the war. We're going into something completely new. Mm-hmm. And that's something that's completely.
Like, we're going into Iran charging tolls at the Strait. We're going into a world where Iran controls the Strait. And before this war, it wasn't like that. But after it, that's looking like the reality we're looking at right here. And that would be Iran pretty much claiming victory right there. I'm gonna be real with you. It's actually a valid way to claim victory because, I mean, they were able to hold on to the Strait of Hormuz. And as much as we tried to push them off, as much economic leverage we tried to pull as well, they still control it. I mean, yeah, this is why this is a complete embarrassment for us on the world stage. And now our military might is kind of being, doubted at this point.
We knew is actually going to affect way more than just the Strait of Hormuz, because now what we're looking at is the potential for this kind of, control, if you will, from other countries of other straits like the Bab el-Mandeb. So the Houthis could do something similar there in the entrance to the Red Sea, or not that they're going to do it necessarily, but pick a place like the Strait of Malacca by Singapore and Indonesia. You could have all these countries trying to exert some kind of control, in essence, exacting tolls or service fees or whatever they want to call them over these areas. This is diametrically opposed to the U.S. policy, which was that freedom of navigation would be key through all of these areas. So this is going to have impacts on the economy. This is going to have impacts on a lot of different things, as well as our ability to posture our forces properly.
I mean, Alex, it's, you can use whatever analogy you want. Pandora's box has been opened. The horses are out of the barn. The genie's out of the bottle, whatever it is, right? You cannot go back. As we talked about, I remember last summer standing on the Strait of Hormuz when that aspect of the war was happening and saying, well, this is the threat. But they'd never done it. It was a threat. And now it's been done. It can never be undone, right? Things have changed.
They fundamentally have changed, and they've learned progressively over the last year, not only from the 12-day war last summer, but now from this one. So they started out with a nuclear program that they decided not necessarily to pursue a weapon, but sort of in the background as a means of strategic deterrence. The 12-day war taught them that their ballistic missiles could serve as an effective strategic deterrent against Israel. And now in this portion of the conflict, they've learned that low-cost drones and projectiles could hold the straits.
I'll be real with you. Nothing was going to be a deterrent against Israel when it came to Iran. I mean, bro, they was using the 60% enrichment as a deterrent. We still struck them. Israel still said, F it, we're going in. Yeah, they had ballistic missiles that could reach Israel and that can get through their Iron Dome. Israel still said, F it, we're going in. So, I mean, if those two things wasn't stopping Israel, really nothing was stopping them. I don't even think Iran literally having a nuke would stop Israel.
Risk without actually having to mine them. So they hadn't done it before, but the traditional plans for mining the straits went out the window. And so even now, if it's rhetoric versus reality and they don't actually control the straits, they say that they control it, we don't recognize it, it's kind of a face-saving measure. At any point in the future, if they still retain drones or missile capabilities, they could theoretically do this again anytime that they wanted to, provide the regime is still in power.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is the bad thing about it, too. Like, anytime that we don't do something that Iran likes in the Middle East, or just period, they can close down the strait now and we can't remove them, as it's been proven through this conflict. So that's also a red flag too. Not only can these guys not only will they start charging tolls to the strait, I believe they already are, but now they can close it at their will. Pretty much, if you piss us off, aka if Israel want to go into Lebanon and piss us off, we'll close the strait. If you guys want to keep adding sanctions on us, okay, great, we'll close the strait. That's now a leverage. That's now leverage they have until we can take it from them, which we cannot right now. It's probably going to take some years and some rebuilding of our munitions. But then who even want to do all that? Like I said, we shouldn't even have did this in the first place.
Israel doesn't like this.
Right.
Okay, they don't like the deal. They wanted to get rid of the regime. They wanted to finish the job, and they got Trump on board. And now the two roads are diverging. But the question is, who's going to call the shots there? Israel has a lot of cards it can play if it doesn't want this deal to go through. For example, continuing to escalate in Lebanon. I mean, there are a lot of things that they can do. So who's really going to end up calling the shots?
Well, it's one of those things where we'll have to see, Aaron, because, if President Trump has his way, he will be calling the shots, and he has actually publicly said that he is. However, every time he says something like that, the opposite seems to happen. And you've got, someone like Prime Minister Netanyahu who says, okay, we hear what you're saying, and he gets yelled at, by Trump or somebody else, but he still goes ahead because he's looking at this from a survivability standpoint. He wants to make sure that northern Israel is not going to be attacked anymore by Hezbollah from Lebanon or by the Houthis from, Israel itself, by the Houthis from Yemen. So he's going to look at this.
I mean, that's easy. Just tell Israel not to attack Lebanon and tell Israel not to attack. Okay, never mind. That's a little bit different because Yemen's a bit more of a wild card. I mean, here's the thing. The Houthis, they only attacked Israel because Israel attacked them. Like, let's just keep it real. And for some reason, that throughout history, that's what it's been. Israel attacks them and then they respond. And then for some reason, Israel plays the victim. But with the Houthis, I'm just be real with you. They just get involved just to get involved because of the F Israel, agenda they got going on.
As a way of, do I need to go do something on my own, which Israel has done in the past, or is it something where I can live with this at least for a time, not to anger the Americans?
Alex, is the United States going to be able to do a deal? I asked this from a very specific point, which is that the people who have been involved, whether it be Jared Kushner or Steve Witkoff, they've gone into the meetings. They do not have the knowledge or the capability to do the detailed work required for a deal on specific nuclear points, right? Experts do that. This administration has not wanted to work with those experts up to this point. But how do you do a real deal with Iran that can be enforced in any way that's on specific, granular nuclear details without those people involved?
So the Iranians actually complained about that up front because they're used to what they call the Rob Malley detailed technical process at Geneva. And they were told by regional mediators and others that type of negotiation for this administration is out the window. The president values people that he trusts, and he wants a strategic framework in place, and then he'll sort of get down to the details. What we're looking at here looks very similar to Gaza. So let's not forget, we had the phase 1 deal in Gaza that pushed a lot of the difficult issues over into phase 2 that still it's overdue now. We haven't finished that. We're looking at an MOU for phase 1, that memorandum of understanding, that will largely get to an agreement at a high level on the nuclear issues. You need to get rid of that highly enriched uranium. There'll be an overall ban on enrichment for a certain period of time. But what the details that look like are not going to be clear. And that's what's going to get worked out in the 60 days.
Well, and that's what's
I mean, if we can even make it to the 60 days without, either one of the parties bombing each other. Well, one of the three parties, somebody got to put Israel in check for all this to work out. But all right, let's see what the right side of media is talking about with Fox News.
Fox News alert tonight. A senior White House official tells us that Iran has agreed to a deal and that they're 75 to 85% confident it'll be signed within the next couple of days. They're not even negotiating over terms anymore. The framework has been agreed upon. The only discussions left are logistics, where and when to sign it. We're told that we've gotten buy-in from Iranian leadership, which includes the political and military factions. There's always a chance some hardliner scuttles it at the last second, but...
Well, I don't think nobody's scuttling it, Jesse. I think you're hopefully he actually talks about the details of it. But if he leaves out the details of it, this is why Fox News is just propaganda outright. Because they're trying to paint this as a win when obviously this is a loss. And what they're settling on, well, is pretty much Iran closing the strait. We're pretty much passing off the nuclear talk for 60 days. And of course, well, sanctions can be also lifted on Iranian oil. I mean, yeah, this is why Iran's claiming victory, guys. Because, what are we honestly getting? But, tell me, what are we honestly getting that we haven't already had? Let's just be honest here.
Even Iran's foreign minister says, quote, the deal has never been closer. The president told Axios that a deal could even be signed this weekend. So what changed the last 3 days of strikes? The president demonstrated he was willing to resume major combat operations. The Iranians did not want that. The Iranians took a beating on the coastline, territory they've been using to terrorize the strait. The other game changer, Project Freedom, had restarted. The U.S. Navy was secretly escorting tankers through. This really...
Yeah, and, from my speculation, this is just me speculating, but it does seem like because we were leading these tankers through, that's why that drone hit the Apache helicopter and ended up taking it down, because that Apache helicopter must have been part of the escorting, and that actually makes perfect sense. So the Apache helicopter was escorting it. The drone comes in. It doesn't accidentally knocks into it. It was probably going right for the vessel, and I think the Apache helicopter was probably running shield, but... But further details will come out. But it does look like we were using the Apache helicopter and probably other tools as well, other military equipment as well, to transit these vessels through the strait. And that drone hitting the Apache helicopter was just a consequence of that.
Chipped away at Iranian leverage and showed America's commitment to freedom of navigation. The energy secretary says we were moving 7 million barrels a day out of the Gulf, and Iran couldn't do anything to stop it. They realize they're not dealing with Barack Hussein Obama anymore.
I will tell you, President Trump has the guts of a riverboat gambler. They look at infidels like you and me, and they say, yeah, you can lie to those guys. Don't worry about it. Nothing's going to happen. They never ran into a guy like President.
It's so funny, though. Can you imagine calling these guys the liars? You can't trust them when we're the ones who broke the deal. You imagine that? Remember, Iran did not break the JCPA. They did not go outside of it. They did not enrich past that 3.67% at all. No, we're the ones who got out of it. We're the ones who put the sanctions back on them. But then we're the ones over here pointing fingers at them how can we trust you? Can you you imagine that? Somebody put a out of a deal with you, breaking the deal with you, then they turn around and be like, oh, how could I ever trust you again? Like, what?
Trump. And I think President Trump has really brought pressure on him. And I think we'll see what happens now. Do they buckle under that pressure? I think they will.
So here's the memorandum of understanding that could be signed.
Guys, make sure to smash that like button. Appreciate the support, guys. And also make sure to double tap that screen as well, depending on how you're watching. And if you have any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, feel free to super chat it in, or you can go ahead and send in a Venmo, guys. Appreciate the support. Let's get back to it.
As early as Saturday. The Strait immediately reopens and will lift the blockade if the waters remain calm. Also, no tolling, ever. And here's the big one. The Iranians have agreed in principle to destroy and remove their enriched uranium. This will be supervised by the United States and the International Atomic Energy Committee. It's buried deep as a skyscraper.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. That tolling part, that's not what Iran is saying. They say, no, they'll open it, but we're charging our tolls, and we will remove our blockade and all that good stuff. So if we actually want the Strait open, that's what we have to do. We pretty much have to listen to Iran to get it open. And then, like I said, 60 days, in 60 days, if we can, behave ourselves and if Israel can behave themselves, then yes, we can go ahead and talk about their enriched uranium. And let's see what we can do with that. Giving up enrichment altogether, I doubt they're going to do. But if we can get them back to the JCPA terms, then that'd be great.
To extract it, it's dangerous, it's volatile, and pretty technical. But in terms of the timeline, it's going to be removed quickly. Once it's out of the country, then and only then does Iran get sanctions relief. There is going to be vigilant inspections, and Iran will not fund terrorism. If they do, they will not receive any economic benefits. The broader goal is to establish peace in the Middle East. This means Iran must behave like a normal country, not sponsor terrorism. We will only unfreeze.
So fucked up about that. Let's be real. Normal countries sponsor terrorism. Bro, look at the Gulf country. They sponsor their proxies. We got our terrorist proxies, and so does Iran. So I guess it is kind of normal for countries to, fund proxies. Look what we're doing. Look what we were doing with Ukraine under Biden. We use Ukraine as a proxy to take on Russia. Like, let's be real, guys. Everybody uses proxies when you don't want to take a superpower up top.
Assets when they do what they've agreed to do. Senior administration officials tell Primetime that Epic Fury did $1 trillion of damage to Iran. $1 trillion. Gulf allies have agreed to invest $200 billion in infrastructure and energy projects to rebuild. This creates stronger ties between the countries. Economic integration almost always prevents war. But this reconstruction of Iran is tied to Iran's performance. This entire deal is performance-based. The deal also folds in Lebanon. Israel will not attack Hezbollah there, but if Hezbollah attacks Israel, Israel can defend itself. Iran's got to keep Hezbollah on a leash. If they don't, no sanctions relief. Netanyahu
is that's like I said, that's real rich coming from seeing the facts that honestly knowing the fact that it mattered that Israel attacked Lebanon first. Israel attacked Hezbollah first. Actually, Israel's been breaking the ceasefire with Hezbollah so many times that all the organizations like the UN can't even count. So it's like I said, it's real rich how we're saying, if Hezbollah can behave themselves, really? No, it's actually if Israel can behave themselves and just not attack Lebanon. Bro, they did in the 80s and now they're doing it again today. And the crazy thing is they start it every time.
Briefed on the deal, and he's comfortable with it, we're hearing, as long as Iran complies. He's a little bit more skeptical of the Iranians, but if they perform, he likes it. This deal, if it goes through, Iran is giving us a long-term commitment, no nuclear weapons. We're eliminating their stockpile of uranium. Their nuclear scientists have all been killed. Their 3 nuke sites are all buried deep underground. Their military, for the most part.
Be real with you, come on, bro. You can't really kill all of their nuclear scientists. Once they got the knowledge, it's a wrap. Unless you want to start bombing libraries as well. Because like I said, I'm pretty sure these guys wrote an effing book, as they all usually do. These academics love to write a book.
Decimated. Their steel and industrial plants have been obliterated so they can't rebuild their military. Now, if this deal goes through, Trump will be traveling to the G7 in France next week, with a crowning achievement: the defeat of the world's #1 sponsor of terror, full denuclearization.
Like, with that logic he just used with nuclear scientists, I mean, what? So if you just kill all of the AI CEOs, we'll never be able to do AI ever again? No. Somebody else is just going to do it. Like, what?
The reestablishment of the world's free flow of oil, and a Mideast on the precipice of a lasting peace. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full.
But all right, now let's get over here to Sky News and let's see what they're talking about here in Australia.
Let's get more on our top story today. The US and Iran reportedly settling on the wording of a new ceasefire deal. Pakistan's prime minister declaring the text has been agreed. There is some debate about that. Let's speak to former US ambassador to the United Arab Emirates, Barbara A. Leaf, who joins us live now.
Oh, guys, make sure you're smashing that like button, guys. Let's get more people in on the conversation by smashing that like button. We got about 7 of y'all on the horizontal. So, guys, make sure you smash that like button. And then we got about, let's see here, 20 of you guys on the vertical. Make sure you guys are double tapping that screen. All right, let's get back to it.
Thanks for your time this morning. It does appear we're on the verge of a deal, but of course not for a permanent peace yet.
That's right, Alex. And we're very much in the stage of the war of competing narratives. And I have to say the regime in Tehran kind of got a jump on the administration by putting out its own version of 14 points that it says is what constitutes the agreement. It's been back and forth all day with disputation by Washington and Tehran, but it does seem that they are inching closer and closer to that moment of signing a framework deal that will open the way to the next stage, which will be quite difficult to come to terms on the nuclear program.
How much is perception going to play a part? Because I'm hearing conflicting reports about concessions when it comes to the current sanctions in place or unfreezing Iranian assets versus what's being described as incentives for Iran.
Well, that's right. And that's what I mean by the war of the narratives. Both the administration, President Trump, and Tehran have constituencies that they've got to sell this to publicly. They're also messaging the rest of the world and messaging the region. The administration has been in very constant, close contact with the leadership of the 6 GCC states and Turkey, Pakistan, Jordan, Egypt. So it is trying to do a pretty difficult job of navigating its way to something good enough to get the Strait of Hormuz open, really open, in trade for lifting the blockade for 60 days. We'll see if that's enough.
Yeah, global economies would certainly cheer that reopening of the Strait of Hormuz for sure. I mean,
now, the problem is, are we doing it for sanction relief or just doing it because we're pretty much allowing allowing Iran to charge the tolls through the Strait? Which, like I said, this is one of the things. This is what Iran is pretty much putting out, that the USA is going to remove their blockade. The Strait will be open with tolls. Yes, with tolls, and pre-war shipping will resume within 30 days. I'm just like, I don't know about that one. But let me see if I can find something else here, because what I'm actually also reading is that they're also saying that it's going to be open without tolls, but I think that's just the U.S. position, which hopefully is actually carried out, because an extra $2 per barrel and these guys paying $2 million per tanker. Yeah, I mean, that's not going to help with oil prices.
The US consumers have suffered rising prices. How much has that sort of pressure played a part in motivating these negotiations versus the US recent renewed military action and threats?
Well, there's no question that Iran is under a great deal of economic pressure, but it has been signaling for some time. The regime has been signaling that it believes it can outweight the administration in this economic war of attrition. The administration is hearing loud and clear from businesses, and not just, the impact is not just at the gas pump, it's across so many sectors, including agriculture, because all of the byproducts of oil and LNG have been trapped for 3 months now. And that includes plastics, fertilizers, helium for chips, for semiconductors. So there is great uneasiness growing.
Of course, The previous ceasefire agreement did not lead to a permanent settlement, so there will be skepticism over whether or not this one, even if it gets over the line, can do. In your experience in the sort of diplomatic services, are the best deals ones where no one is left happy?
Well, I don't know if they're the best deals, but it's pretty clear that there will be unhappiness on both sides at the end of this. And that's if they do get to something that is
I don't know, man. It's hard to say that when you got the Iranian foreign minister talking about, oh, we're claiming victory. I mean, that don't sound like they're, unhappy about the deal like we are. Shoot, people on our side are unhappy about us not bombing Iran, surprisingly. But not really surprising. Like I said, if you listen to people like Mark Levin and, people on Fox, like I said, they're voicing their irritation with us not bombing Iran. So it's kind of funny now that we're kind of settling down, which I like. Like I said, I like where we're at, and I like that we're actually moving towards a peace deal or a ceasefire. But